Hi, this is Greg Carl from the Vanguardian Facebook page. We're here at ARG Richmond with a deck tech video. Today with us we have from Team 2XC, Jonathan Gall, to go through his deck list for a Dimensional Police deck. So John, looking at your deck list, why don't we start with the triggers and work our way up to the fun stuff. So what do you have in your trigger lineup?
Well, 4 heals, basic. 4 grand, actually 3 grand beats. I'm missing one at the moment. But grand beats, I'm actually just using them to trick people at the moment.
A little deception never hurt.
The new Metalborg crit trigger, it's called Grass Cutter, and it's amazing. It's basically a rehash of their old stand trigger. It lets you push to soul, choose a 2 and a 3 Metalborg on your Vanguard circle and give them +3 each, so it's basically a +6 to Sin Buster for like nothing.
Right, so the old stand trigger, you basically got swapped out for crits now, so more pressure, more crit possibilities.
Did the same thing essentially, but now you have it on a crit.
Right.
And the new Cosmic Hero stand trigger, it's called Reika, and it is my new favorite. For anyone who doesn't know what it does, it's GB1 essentially. From rear guard, you can toss it to the top of your deck and shuffle it back in, give your Vanguard +4, and on attack Vanguard, you draw one. Just declare an attack, and it stacks.
Right, so on stride turns with Commander Lore, you're looking at a 3 to 6+ draw engine from there, and you return triggers to deck. Awesome trigger lineup. So as we move in, look at grade 1s. Obviously, Commander Laurel is a big play in Dimension Police. He's not been hit in the U.S.
No, he's still at 4,
as
and
of May 2015.
people are raging about it. It's great.
You got Commander Laurel at 4, obviously 4 perfect guards. Now, did you go with the new perfect G guards?
I did not. I actually went with the old school guards, just because you can guard rear guards with them, and essentially you either need 4 of one or 4 of the other. I tried teching in 2, and it just doesn't work. You have to go 4 or 4.
Okay.
4 Laurels, 3 of my new favorite grade 1, which I think you wanted to discuss.
Yeah, so Grand Chopper. So
little card called
interesting
Grand Chopper.
strategy on how these Cosmic Heroes are a little bit different from traditional Dimension Police, of how you can actually, with one trigger, take it from a 5,000 boost to an 8,000. You want to explain how Grand Chopper is kind of key for that?
Grand Chopper is not GB1. He's at any time. Basically, when he gets buffed by anything, as long as it's not boost or guard, as long as it's a trigger or a skill or anything, you can counterblast 1 and choose 2 units. The word units is key because you can choose Vanguard or Rear Guard and give them +4. So you put him behind Vanguard and swing. You check a trigger. You can put it on him. For anyone who doesn't know, boosting is a continuous skill. Look it up. I've had to explain that several times already. And then give +8 to your Vanguard if it's Sin Buster, or you can proc Rear Guard skills, and it makes for just crazy numbers, and it's really weird to guard against. It's kind of like a stealth power-up.
Right, so as we're talking about, so one of those stealth skills would be with the other grade 1, which is
Grand Wagon.
Grand Wagon.
He's less of a stealth thing since he's an act, but he counterblasts 1 and soul blasts 1, GB1, to give 1 unit a power-up. Also, so you can basically put out 1 of them and 1 chopper, and then buff the chopper, or you can put out 2 choppers if you have the counterblast and go chopper into chopper. One thing I almost forgot to cover, not used quite as much, but chopper does not say on your turn, which can lead to using him as defense. You can actually check a trigger and put it on chopper and buff if you have more than 1 chopper, you can buff your Vanguard by enough to survive sometimes.
So let's go into the grade 2s. The grade 2s are pretty interesting, and we've seen a lot of Cosmic Heroes, a little bit of Dimensional Robo, but as we go into this, and you mentioned Sin Buster, so we're actually getting a whole gathering of the whole Dimension Police family, short of the aliens. So do you have a grade 2? It looks like we have Grand Fire at 3.
I have Grand Fire at 3, Grand Sub at 3, and Uru Buster, the Legion mate for Sin Buster, at 4. You notice I'm only running 10 3s. I cut 1 because I needed an extra grade 1 spot, essentially. It has not hurt me, actually, even though the data says it should, but it hasn't.
So Grand Fire is pretty interesting. So Grand Fire is the unique units that, as these new G series have come out, it's one of the grade 2s that says when it's boosted, counterblast 1, get an effect. And its effect is give 2 units +4,000.
GB1, of course.
Right.
Like you said, when it's boosted, you give 2 units +4,000, and it's Vanguard or Rear Guard, so you can actually, if you have let's say you have a Laurel behind a 9K, that's a 13K column. If you need to hit with your Rear Guard, you can make that into a 21 for Counterblast 1. You can give it to Vanguard for a +8 on Sinbuster, or +8 to the column if you're on a stride. If you give it to what's boosting your Vanguard, it just makes for great numbers.
So to round out the grade 2, so you obviously have Metalborg Urbuster in there as well, mostly for the Legion copy, but also a good retire skill on Legion turn. So Grand Sub, that's the last kind of stealth power combo. You want to go into that briefly?
Grand Sub is great. Essentially, he's GB1. When he's buffed by 4K by anything, trigger or more, trigger, skill, etc. He gives 4,000 to the Vanguard, and also the skill. Your opponent has, when the attack hits a Vanguard, your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards and retires it. So you get an extra kill for essentially an extra stealth kill.
Right. And your grade 3s, so looking at your grade 3s, it's similar to what you had at ARG Louisville, correct? So you still have the...
I'm still going Die Kaiser at 4 and Sinbuster at 4.
Okay.
And a lot of people are probably going what at this point, because everyone who's running it is going Sinbuster Gallop, and that was actually my first reaction. I went Sinbuster Gallop. I played it, and I love Gallop, but from something I've run into, he has no real end game.
Right.
He has no big oomph power, no big push for game. So you're basically relying on the strides.
Exactly.
And he has no way to, there's no OTK.
So that's the interesting about this deck is that yes, it has a break ride possibility. It has early game with Legion, but if your opponent sits at grade 2, like every other deck, you're going to be obviously hesitant. But there are some Tekkens here that don't require GBO1 that can give you that kind of over the top kind of push. So looking at your stride units, so your G zone, what do we have? Looks like we have 4 X Rogues, 3 X Rogues.
3 X Rogues.
So X Rogue was the pre-release promo. He's an on hit, and he's over 37 power. So one key thing to remember about these Cosmic Heroes is all of their skills are cumulative with triggers. So that's kind of the unique thing about this. So if they say if it requires 37,000, if you do no guard, another skill may activate from trigger effects.
Triggers and boost, so basically probably one of the best things to do if you can get him out is to go, he's 26k on stride, and then you have a 7k boost behind him and you give him the 4 with Reika.
Right.
And then you can swing if the attack hits, oh hey look, I get to draw at least 2. You get to draw 1 on attack,
you get a free Reika.
And then his skill is basically your opponent loses a rear guard and you get to draw a card. So,
pretty devastating. So adding the retire mechanism into Dimensional Police too as well. So X Tiger only at 2.
Yeah, I actually couldn't pick up a third one.
Okay.
I was floundering a little bit there. I was running him at 3. What I wanted to run him at was 3.
Okay.
But for anyone who doesn't know, they actually did finally rule on X Tiger. He is cumulative. His second skill is separate. If he's 45 at any point, he gets his extra crit, which makes for some silly scenarios where you can check 1 crit and put him on him and suddenly he's at crit 3.
And to round them out, we have 2 X Falcons, my personal favorite art and from this entire extra booster, basically just sending a rear guard to the damage zone on hit, literally pointing at your opponent's damage zone. And finally, 1 Miracle Element Atmos. So why the Tekken of 1 Atmos? I'm curious. It's a very counterblast heavy deck.
He was actually the placeholder for X Tiger, but
gotcha.
I've been liking him.
Okay.
I've actually been liking him at 1. No one expects the random 36k at the Vanguard for Counterblast 1. If I got let's say I have a Laurel out and I think my opponent can't guard it, sometimes I'll just go into Atmos.
We do have a lot of G zones that just have a Tekken of Atmos just for that extra power boost. So that's kind of the whole deck profile, guys. Tune in for more deck profiles from here at ARG Richmond. Till next time, thank you.